We made a fake profile on Tinder of just an average looking girl.
Yeah.
Just average, like nothing special. And we started just swiping on every guy. After an hour, everyone was a match. His phone started getting so many notifications of matches and messages that his phone started overheating.
So let's clarify what's going on here. You catfished a bunch of men using a photo of a woman that you deemed to be average attractiveness, whatever that means. Hopefully you got her consent to use that photo. I have my doubts, but let's at least go with that. You then swiped on every single man that showed up in your feed and found that every single man was in turn swiping back on you simply for being a woman. And your conclusion is that dating apps are broken for men, and then have a comment section full of comments like this without ever once asking, who's causing this problem? Imagine for a second you're looking for a job and you go online and just start applying for everything. Don't even read the descriptions. Janitor, CEO of a tech startup, brain surgeon, painter, plumber, regardless. You just put in your application every single place you can find. And then you start getting furious because no one's calling you back for an interview. And the few places that are contacting you, you don't actually have an interest in doing that job. And there actually were jobs that you were both qualified for and that you would have liked doing. But they didn't even see your application because thousands of other guys were also flooding their inboxes with applications even though they weren't qualified. And then they'll get mad at the guys getting the jobs, saying they're only getting those jobs because they're 6 feet tall and make 6 figures, while conveniently leaving out the fact that they began their last job interview by asking, do you like angry? Sir, this is a Wendy's. So what you're left with is a ton of angry, unemployed guys and a bunch of employers who have a lot of applicants but can't seem to find anyone that's actually read their very clear job description. Now, look, there are issues with this metaphor. I don't like referring to women as employers and men as employees, but the point is that dating apps seem to be broken for everyone. And using examples like this as proof that men have it so much harder than women is simply not the case if you actually talk to a woman.
Who benefits more in marriage, man or woman?
I think there's no benefit for a man, unfortunately, in the Western way of marriage.
So this video was sent to me, and I have to admit, I watched it 3 separate times because I kept thinking I was missing something. So let me play the entire video to show I'm not taking it out of context, and then I'll respond.
I think it's so sickening that, we have this agreement that women, when they divorce a man, they can just leave with a lot of his money or expect alimony for the rest of their life. And one of the things I always ask women is, are you going to have sex with him after you divorce for the rest of your life? And she's like, why would I do that? I was like, then why do you expect payment for the rest of your life?
The argument here against alimony is that because a woman isn't having sex with her ex-husband after divorce, she shouldn't receive financial support. But that's not how any of this works. That's not how marriage works. This whole take reveals something really disturbing about how some people view marriage, right? As a transactional agreement where women trade sex for financial security. And once the sex stops, so should the money. But let's talk about what this ideology completely ignores. Marriage is supposed to be a partnership where both people make sacrifices for the good of the family unit. When someone, and let's be honest, in our culture it's usually the wife, puts their career on hold to raise kids, or moves across the country for their spouse's jobs, or works part-time so someone can be home with the family, there are real financial sacrifices with long-term consequences. Look, I'm the primary income earner in my household. My wife is a stay-at-home mom, and if she were to leave me tomorrow for any reason whatsoever, she absolutely should get half of everything we've built together. You know why? Because nothing, and I mean nothing, that I've accomplished has been without her by my side. Here's the thing, if you can't honestly say that your success is intertwined with your partner's support and sacrifice, if you can't recognize how their contributions enabled your achievements, then don't get married. And if you're saying I do while your biggest fear is that she's going to take half your money someday, then you're marrying the wrong person for the wrong reason. This ideology also completely ignores economic reality. When someone takes years out of the workforce to raise their children, they lose earning potential permanently. They miss promotions, skill development, network opportunities. The idea that they should just go get a job and fend for themselves after a divorce ignores the very real financial impact of the sacrifices that they made for the family. And the worst part is that there's going to be men who hear this and think, finally, someone gets it, without ever stopping to ask themselves If the only thing keeping your wife with you is financial dependence, and the only thing you're bringing to the marriage is money, you can be easily replaced. If you're this worried about losing money in a divorce, maybe invest in therapy instead of a prenup. Because the real question isn't, how do I protect my assets? It's, why am I planning for my divorce before I plan my wedding? A guy just commented on one of my videos telling me that the only reason I make the content that I do is because I'm so jealous of alpha males. He said, you're not even a beta male. Based on your body, you're more of a eats too much pie male. And I know it was meant to be an insult, but I love it so much. It might be the best comment I've ever received.
People are like, I need 3 hours of my kids. Shut your mouth, dude.
You shut your mouth, bucko.
You don't need 3 hours with your kids. You need 20 minutes with your kid.
Have you met children? Do you have children? Do you know how long 20 minutes is, or how short, I should say, 20 minutes is? It takes 20 minutes for my daughter to put on her shoes, to find her coat, to play a single round of Candyland. Not around the board, like one turn of Candyland. It takes more than 20 minutes to stop talking about the game we're about to play before we start playing the game. God forbid there's a specific toy she wanted to play with. It might take 20 minutes just to find the toy that she just had.
And then guess what? They don't want to spend any more time with you. They're good. If dad gave them 20 hard minutes, they'd be like, Dad, kick rocks. We're good. See you tomorrow.
And I don't know how to be the one to tell you this, but if after 20 minutes your kids are telling you to kick rocks, get out of here, that sounds like you're really boring. What are you doing with them? Teaching them about crypto?
3 girl hairstyles that guys do not like.
Who is guys? Did you take a poll? Did you survey the Council of Men? Or were you just alone, almost certainly, and thought this to yourself?
If you have any of these hairstyles, especially the last one, you are not pulling any guys.
Plot twist, maybe that's the point. Maybe they chose these 3 specific styles solely to avoid pulling you.
1. This one has to be a pixie cut.
What the fuck are you talking about? Pixie cuts can be hella cute. You kind of have a messy pixie cut going on yourself. I don't like it on you, though. Get a haircut. Or read a book. Chop some wood. Knitting, I hear, is very relaxing. Just some sort of hobby that's not this. You clearly have far too much time on your hands. I don't even want to hear the last 2 options in your list. I don't respect your taste.
I'm literally trying on actual historically accurate low-rise jeans.
First and foremost, I was not mentally prepared to hear and see a vintage account refer to low-rise jeans as historically accurate. I know I'm old, but that still hurt. Having said that, if you want to be historically accurate as possible, there are several things you need to know. First and foremost, they often went lower than that. If you want to truly see what I'm talking about, you can probably find some historical documents of Britney Spears or some historical footage of Alyssa Milano in Charmed that will give you an accurate representation of just how low was considered culturally appropriate at the time. There were also several things missing that would be needed to fully get the experience. Now, keep in mind, I am also sharing these memories as someone who was an observer of this fashion. If anybody in the comments wants to chime in with what it was like to experience wearing these, please do so and correct me. You mentioned wondering what people did when they had to bend over without exposing themselves, and that's a valid concern.
And then I hear if you bend down, like, my crack gets air.
But that problem was often solved with color-coordinated underwear where the straps were already showing. You also just saw butt cracks. So much so that you just didn't notice anymore. Only thing missing would be like one of those like ribbon chokers, a Playboy bunny or a heart, tan line sticker, some Ugg boots, maybe a Von Dutch hat, some chunky highlights. And if you really want to commit, you're going to need to pluck your eyebrows into oblivion to the point where they're merely the suggestion of eyebrows. That's how we rolled. And I need to be clear, I am not mocking this style at all. This was me during those years. You can add that to your historical reference photos. I wasn't going to respond to this video, but at least 50 of you have sent it my way so far. Let's hear it.
Am I the asshole for telling my boyfriend I'll break up with him if he doesn't start wiping his butt?
We don't need to hear the rest of this. We're going to, but we don't need to hear the rest. The answer is no.
I asked him point blank, do you wipe after you poop?
Before we get to his response, I think it's important to note that if you ever get to the point in your relationship where you feel the need to ask for clarification on this topic, you could probably just move on. I don't think you can come back from this, because even if his answer is yes, I do, your follow-up has got to be, then why do you smell like shit?
He shrugged and said, nah, wiping is kind of gay. Why would I touch my own ass?
I feel like I should clarify, in case anyone is confused here, this is not the words of a 3-year-old boy. This is a 27-year-old man looking into the eyes of his girlfriend who he lives with and saying the words, wiping is gay.
He said I was being judgmental and that I should accept him for who he is.
Sir, you are a grown man walking around with Dookie Donuts in your undies, with booty brownies in your pants. That's not a personality trait to be accepted. That's a health hazard.
He even texted me a link to men's rights subreddit post about how wiping is emasculating.
So I didn't double check on this because I don't want a men's rights subreddit popping up in my browser history. But the logical leap to say that wiping is more emasculating than walking around with adult diaper rash is beyond anything I can understand.
Update. Hey again, I wanted to give an update because, well, it happened. I broke up with him.
Thank God. I was a little worried. I'm certain he took it fantastic, though.
He folded his arms and said, quote, I'm not changing who I am just to make you comfortable. I said, I'm not asking you to change your personality. I'm asking you to not smell like shit.
Is this what guys are referring to when they say that women's standards today are too high? Look, if any guys are still watching this and are torn as to whose side you fall on here, I need to stress something I've said before. I don't wipe my ass for my wife. I do it for me. I keep a clean shop down there for me.
Before he left, he looked at me and said, you'll regret this. You'll never find another guy like me. And I just said, that's kind of the point.
I don't have anything else to add, but I do want to leave you with one final sentence that nobody should ever have to say after a relationship ends.
I cannot tell you how amazing it feels to sit on a couch and not wonder if it's been in contact with poop.
يلا جاهز انزل بيها 3 2 1 يلا 3 2 1 يلا اوعى تسيب عريس
It's just a joke, Chesko. Lighten up. It's just water. Explain the joke. What's the punchline? Her humiliation? The fact that her hair and makeup and dress that she spent hours getting ready is now ruined? Look, I'm not a violent man. Anyone who knows me will say the same thing, but if this was my daughter's wedding and I saw her new husband drop her into the water like that, I'd be going to jail that night. If this is what he's going to do on camera in front of all of these other guests, what is he doing behind closed doors?
All right, just tell me everything you just told me.
I need to take a bath, bathe myself, I need to plug my eyebrows, need to shave my mustache. I need to shave my legs. I haven't shaved them in like 2 months. I need to make an appointment for my armpits. I need to cut my nails. You don't have a mustache. I need to whiten my teeth. I do got a little hair there.
How hairy are you?
I haven't had time to take care of myself.
I want to be clear here that I am not critiquing her for sharing this. I think we have been fed as a society that this is relatable mom content. And that's the problem. This is what happens when we normalize the idea that mothers should sacrifice everything, including their own humanity, for the sake of their families, while treating fathers like babysitters who are just helping out instead of equal parents doing their job. She's not requesting like some elaborate spa day or a trip with her friends. She's asking to shower and appearing to feel guilty about it. You shouldn't need to justify taking a shower. That's not a luxury. That's basic human dignity. She's standing in her kitchen listing off these things like she's asking for permission to exist as a person. And is he still showering every day? Does he have to list off all the things he needs to do to justify cleaning himself? Or does he just do it? It's the same kind of guy that 20 years from now will be like, I just don't get it. She just let herself go, without realizing the role he played in that. And this is not a critique on anyone who found it relatable either, right? But it should be shocking, right? The fact that so many people found it relatable is just evidence of how broken our systems have become. If your partner respects you and loves you and cares for you the way you deserve to be cared for, you should not need to make a PowerPoint presentation about why you deserve to be clean.
How do I explain to my 10-year-old daughter that crop tops are not appropriate for her?
What conversations are you having with your 10-year-old son about not sexualizing girls who wear crop tops? Better yet, what conversations are you having with the grown men in your life, creating an environment where what you're saying seems like sound advice? We're spending all this energy teaching little girls that their bodies are the problem, that they need to cover up, that they are responsible for other people's reactions to them. But where's the conversation about teaching boys, and more importantly, teaching men, that a 10-year-old stomach isn't sexual no matter what she's wearing? And let's be real about what age appropriate actually means here. Because when we say crop tops aren't age appropriate for a 10-year-old, what we're really saying is men might look at your child's body in a way that makes us uncomfortable. So instead of addressing the men, we're telling little girls to change. Because they can see that we aren't also telling little boys that they can or can't dress a certain way. Here's an idea. What if we spend more time teaching our boys that girls' bodies aren't there for their consumption? What if we taught men that children's bodies aren't sexual regardless of what they're wearing? What if we put the responsibility on the people doing the sexualizing instead of the people being sexualized? Because right now we're raising girls to believe their bodies are inherently shameful and need to be hidden, while raising boys to believe that if they're distracted by a girl's body, that's her fault for not covering up enough. Now, look, I'm not saying that there aren't things we should be doing to prepare our daughters for a world where predatory men exist, but I want to see the work you're doing to actually change that world. For every conversation like this you have with your daughter, you better be having 3 with your son. You don't have a son? Then you better be talking to your friends who do have sons, pressing them to make sure they're having those conversations. You better be calling out other men when they make inappropriate comments about women and girls. You want to protect your daughter? Teach her that her body belongs to her, that she has the right to wear whatever makes her comfortable, and that if anyone makes her feel uncomfortable about her body, then that is their problem to fix. And then go offline and have some conversations with the men in your life about why a 10-year-old stomach should never be considered sexual in the first place.